all the time. It's our good friend Denard Span. D Span, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. What's going on, bro?
Nothing much, man. So great to see you and so great to talk to you and catch up. I want to ask you a little bit about that. I just talked to Corey Braun for USF. This kid is dealing right now. Lefty, Friday night starter. He's been fantastic. And, it's the job as the pitcher to stay even keel. But I think a manager does a good job or a head coach does a good job knowing when, hey, the energy may not be there, but how do you find a way to lead your team to victory? Because, like, let's say yourself, right? You're playing for the Twins. Who were your biggest rivals when you were there in Minnesota?
I would say early on the White Sox when they
Okay,
were.
so
They're
White
good.
Sox, right? So when you're playing those guys, big 3-game series, emotions are high, whatever happens, Monday comes around, you're playing a team that's not in your division. You may be playing a team in the NL West that you never see. You may think, yeah, you're going to bring the same effort to the table, but it's just the energy is not the same. So I think that the best managers and the best teams find a way on that Monday to be able to win the game, even if it's ugly. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the best managers, the best leaders, they find a way to challenge and motivate their team, in situations where, there really, quite frankly, may not be any motivation, because it's maybe not, a huge rivalry game or maybe not a lot that's, that's relying on this game. So they find a way, like I said, to nitpick at or challenge, challenge them by nitpicking maybe and challenging them to maybe do something that they've never done before to maybe increase or heighten their focus going into that particular ball game.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's the great thing about baseball, man. The ups and downs, the everyday type of thing. Because it's like, it's like working, right? It's like the heartbeat of America. I said baseball is the heartbeat of America. Whether you go 4
Yeah.
for 4, 0 for 4, you got to dust off, you got to get to work the next day, and you got to just go back at it again. But there is nothing quite like opening day. And the Rays obviously opening up, last week with an incredible walk-off home run from Cam Meisner. But just think back to your, experiences on opening day. What is that like when you wake up in the morning knowing that you're going to play the first game of the season? This one is going to count.
I can tell you it's a similar feeling that that all little leaguers have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and whether you're in high school or whatever level it is, it's just the excitement of strapping them up and playing a meaningful game and starting a new season. And like I said, whether you're at t-ball all the way up into college to pro ball, it's the same just atmosphere and feeling. Knowing that you're about to, start a new season. And so, yeah, and for me, like it never got old. No matter whether it was my 10th one in the big leagues or my first one, all of them are special.
And it's kind of crazy, even for me, to still see the Rays playing outside, right? Just like
Yeah.
Steinbrenner Field, they've had a good start to the season. But I mean, what do you think is the biggest adjustment for these guys playing, for years outside to now playing inside for years? And now playing outside, because I know they do play outside, in spring training, but
Yeah.
I think the emotion, right? The different energy that you have for a regular season game compared to a little bit more of a laid back atmosphere for spring training. You as an outfielder, what would be the biggest adjustment for you?
Honestly, I think it'd be easier,
Mm-hmm.
playing outdoors versus indoors. Obviously, when you're indoors and you're playing at the Trop, you have the ultimate advantage, just from the standpoint of, knowing, all the nooks and crannies in the dome, knowing, all the blind spots on a fly ball during a day game. So now, that is eliminated now. You know what I mean? Because you're playing outdoors now, and 98% of pretty much all teams play outdoors other than the Rays and the Blue Jays. And so you kind of lose that advantage. But, I think, but then you factor in, like you said, like baseball has not been played outside in Tampa since this team has been here. So, you bring a level of excitement. The fans, I have a feeling, are going to, continue to support the team, given that it is in Tampa, and they are playing outdoors, especially early on in the season. Obviously, it's going to be interesting and challenging as the season goes along when it gets very hot and humid. It's going to be interesting to see how Kevin Cash and just the sports science department, the way they, go about, protecting players as far as, being tired and the hydration part of things, and just monitoring, their workloads and stuff like that. But it's been fun this first week, watching them play. That's for sure.
Yeah, the hydration is big. I really truly believe that that's going to be something that I don't even know if they know, right? I don't. There's certain things that happen in baseball, and that you could have a bunch of scientists and you have all these different things, but I just there's I mean, I gotta just from coaching, man. You walk in the house after a full day outside of baseball in the summer in Tampa, and you walk in the house and you're just like, I can melt into my couch like a slab of butter on a baked potato right now. And I really hope that that's something that they're working on going forward. I'm sure they are, but I want to ask you about a guy like Junior Caminero. And I wanted to ask you on, do you think that there's pressure on him this year? He's 21 years old. He's batting in the middle of the lineup. He just did his thing in winter ball. Albert Pujols is singing his praises. I don't know if I'm worried about the pressure when it comes to a guy like Junior Caminero. I feel like you don't bat a guy that's what it is. Like, this is what you signed up for. They're not easing him into it. He's not like, all right, well, you're going to spot play here and you're going to bat seventh, or you're only going to hit against lefties. Like, I don't know if we should worry about pressure if you're batting in the middle of the lineup playing third every day. Like, that just kind of comes with the territory, no?
Yeah, obviously we can't, speak for him and know what he's going through. But, if I'm in that clubhouse or in that organization, I'm preaching to him, not to have pressure on yourself. And, just do what you've always done, up through the ranks and through the minor leagues. And, there's not, generally speaking, a lot of pressure when you play, for the Rays. The expectations are, not like you're in New York or Boston. So, everybody understands that he's a great talent and he has a future, that is going to, only continue to rise, and his ceiling is high and all those things. But, if I'm, once again, if I'm on that staff, I'm trying to make him feel as comfortable and as loose as possible, and just, know that, hey, we trust you and you're going to get every crack at this.
Right.
You are the guy, not to put that type of pressure on you, but just, articulating it in a way where it's like, you have nothing to worry about going down. Like, there's nobody behind you. You are the guy, that we're putting our trust in, and we just want you to go out there and be comfortable and go out there and do what you do.
I want to ask you about that, what you just said, because it doesn't happen to everybody. Some guys have to that's their career. Their career is like, you got to play well. You got to play well enough to stay up, or you get sent down, or you get sat on the bench. How important is that to get that nod of, you can go 0 for 15? You're still going to have your spot in the order, because it's not like that in any other sport. You go ice cold shooting the basketball, man, you're going to be out of the rotation before you know it. In football, if you're not making tackles, if you're not catching the football, if you're throwing interceptions, like, it's so much different in baseball, where you have to, because the season's so long, you got to ride with guys. You got to go through those valleys. How important was that for you? When was that? Did you get that in your career, where you went from a guy that was, all right, I know, because I know you played some corners there with Minnesota, but when they said you're going to be the everyday center fielder, what was that like for you to be able to? Was it a weight lifted off your shoulders? And if it was, what was that feeling quite like?
I remember that time in my career vividly. And, even though, you're talking about the differences in baseball versus other sports, in baseball, that, I played with many guys that didn't have a long leash, even though it was a long season. They might have came up from AAA and maybe got 10 at bats.
And people knew, right, Denard? Like, that's the thing, is like, do you know that as an everyday player? Like, do you know the guys that are, because you play with Michael Kadire and Mauer and Morneau, like, you're not worried about those guys. Those guys aren't coming out of the lineup. But
no.
Did you guys kind of knew, like, hey, this guy maybe doesn't have that same kind of leash as some of the guys that are? It's pretty much inherent, right?
Yeah, you're not, if if you're a guy or not. You know if you're a top prospect, or if you're established or not. If you're not established or you're not a top prospect, then you have to come in and hit the ground running as soon as that opportunity comes, because you don't know when that opportunity is going to close. You know, you don't know when, you know, if you're up there filling the gap or filling a spot for somebody who's injured, you don't know when they're going to come back. So you don't know, you know, how long that leash is going to be. But for me, you know, I remember vividly in 2008 was my rookie year. I had a really good season that year. You know, I came onto the scene. I hit 295 and you know, in about 100 games or so, and made a huge impact. But, you know, fast forward to the next year, the next spring training, like my mindset was, you know, I felt like I had to make the team, even though that I had, you know, made a huge impact and it was a huge part of the success of the team the year before. I put a lot of pressure on myself that off season and going into spring training that I have to, you know, keep my foot on the gas. Like I can't get comfortable, you know what I mean? But even though I you know, played really well. And so I remember that spring training, I was, you know, not hitting the ball well. My timing was off, and we were probably halfway through spring training, and I, you know, could have been hitting under 200. And I was literally, you know, stressing out. And I remember, you know, Ron Gardenhire, you know, coming to the end of the bench and standing next to me and you know, kind of, you know, gazing off into the field and you know, having this conversation with me. And he said to me, he looked at me, he goes, relax. He goes, you're on my squad. I just want you to know that. And he just walked off. And that to me, it was like, it was a breath of fresh air, and it allowed for me to just relax and play the game that, you know, I loved and that I knew I was good at. And so, yeah, so when you know, you're a guy and you know that, you know, your fate is not, you know, relied upon, you know, 1 week or 1 month or even half the season or maybe even a whole year. Yeah, you're able to go out there and just have fun and play baseball.
Do you think that the struggles from the big leagues happen more because of mental shortcomings or physical shortcomings?
Mental, for sure. Because at the big league level, the game is heightened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the coverage is heightened. The mistakes are magnified. You know what I mean? And you have to, like you said, you have to be able to, you know, take the good with the ugly and the bad. And, you know, because they're going to come. The good, ugly, and bad is going to come. It's inevitable. Like every player has to deal with that. You know what I mean? But the ones that usually, you know, have the downfall or are the ones that cannot bounce back from that and mentally, you know, get themselves ready to play even after they've, you know, had a bad game or had a bad week or a bad month. Because I feel like, you know, once you get to the big leagues, like physically, like everybody has a good swing.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, has the ability and the attributes to be at that level. Even in Double-A, like everybody for the most part, and 80, you know, 75% of the guys can throw 95 plus. You know, 75% of the guys can hit the ball opposite field, up the middle, pull the ball with the best of them. Is more to me, it's just mental. Like, can you show up day in and day out with your game plan and stick to it and not allow that pitcher to or your opponent to dictate what your game plan is and knowing who you are as a player and knowing your strengths and weaknesses. So sorry, that's a long-winded answer.
No, that's good. That's a great answer. That's the insight that we're looking for, man. That's why you're here. Everybody's got talent, but does everybody have a torpedo bat? That's the thing. What did you make of the whole torpedo bat thing? I thought it was funny because I've seen it before. And I've seen Lindor use one, and then all of a sudden, like the Yankees became the poster child. And I was like, I legit saw Junior have one. Lindor's got one. Like they're not the only guys that have these bats, but
everybody loves to hate the Yankees.
That's the truth, my friend. That's the truth. What is your take on the torpedo bats? And would that have been a bat that you would have looked into using when you were in the bigs?
I mean, initially when I heard about it was when, you know, I saw the Yankees hit those 9 home runs, and initially I was like, they're using what kind of bat? What's going on? Like, you can't be telling me. I was just like everybody else. I couldn't wait to hate on the Yankees. I'm like, they're cheating. That's you know, what is this crap? But you know, honestly, like I still, even right now, you know, a week later, I still don't have enough information or knowledge on, you know, these bats. Obviously, you know, I understand the concept of why guys are using them. Because these are guys that, you know, obviously get jammed a lot, maybe through cutters, sliders, and so this is, you know, giving them an opportunity to, you know, maybe fist the ball or drive the ball while, hitting the ball, closer to their hands, if you will. But for me, it's still it's too small of a sample size.
Right.
I think we're still in the experimental phase of these bats and seeing, how much they do make a difference, in a game, in an at bat, and for what type of players are, these bats, best utilized and used for. So yeah, it's just a lot of variables that I don't quite know and understand yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's been so many advancements for pitchers over the years, right? So many different pitches you can throw, so many more guys throwing 95, 98, 100, 101. It's nice that the hitters can get a little something, man, a little something. I mean, as a hitter, I'm sure you would, what advantages did you get over time? Was there anything like, what kind of bat did you use? Were you an ash guy, a maple guy? Where were you at?
I usually, and I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember like the models, but I had two different bats that I used, and usually one against lefties, a different type of bat that no rhyme or reason. It just felt different in my hands, but I would go back and forth between these two bats throughout the season because one was more top heavy, and the other one was more balanced, and so sometimes when I got tired towards the end of the year, I would switch it up just to give give myself a different feel. But at the end of the day, torpedo bat or any kind of bump, bazooka bat or whatever you want to call it, like you still have to be balanced at the plate. You still have to be short to the ball, quick to the ball. You still have to have plate discipline. I don't care what type of bat they give you. I don't even care if they give you PEDs. Like if you don't have those 3 to 4, traits that I just mentioned, you're not going to have much success, even at the big league level.
Yeah, I like that. You got to be able to square it up. That's why Barry Bonds, it's a great conversation. Everybody says this and that, and they go, still got to be able to hit the ball, man, regardless of what your feelings are.
These don't help with, being able to get in that position that he was able to get in. I mean, consistently. Maybe you can say he was fresher, he was strong, but he still had to get in that position. Like,
yeah,
just because, Joe Schmo on the street takes PEDs, that don't automatically make them a 755 home run guy or whatever.
No doubt about it. Saw a video of you that you just posted on socials yesterday. Yeah, it was really cool, man. And I know our guy Xavier Scruggs mentioned and shouted you out too. And it was kind of about the discussion of, post career. I had Matt Joyce on earlier this week, and he spoke the same thing. He goes, Jay, like, you don't know what it's like, man, to be making all this money and have these people screaming your name, and all of a sudden it ends. That's it. Like your life's completely different now, and your focus is shifted. What made you talk about that, and also, what has that adjustment been like for you now that it's been a couple years now since you played your last game?
Yeah, I think it was just time. Time heals all things. You know what I mean? And yeah, I can concur and agree with Matt Joyce. Like like he said, you go from essentially being the man, and I still to this day I'm still the man. I don't get that twisted for one moment, but being in an arena where like he said, you got 50,000 people screaming your name and telling you how great you are, and the amount of money that you're making at a young age is more than what most people make in an entire lifetime. You're making that in 1 month, one year. Right. And so go from that to it's basically cut off, and there's not a manual or script to be able to deal with that. And I don't care, it's like we were talking about the little league thing, like with opening day and all that stuff, like you'll always, it'll always be memorable, or it's the same feeling. But there's nothing that you can prepare for retirement or that transition. And so for me, I've it's been 5+ years since I played my last game. And I think I'm finally like in the right, emotional, spiritual space to put myself out there and express via social media like where I'm at in my life and how my life has changed. Even before I stopped playing, my life was beginning to change because I was starting a family. I got married, and just to where I am now. And so just finding different ways to challenge myself and different ways to validify. I don't know if that's a word, but what success looks like and where I'm at in my life. And so Yeah, it's been a journey over these last 5-6 years of learning, and figuring out, who Denard is outside of the game of baseball. But, I'm thankful that, I have experienced what I've experienced, and, it's made me better. It's made me stronger. And if anything, I'm sharper. I'm better than I was, when I was playing the game. I feel like I'm, a triple threat, if you will. Just this at this juncture in my life and in my career.
Yeah, I feel like we get to a point, and you said something in that interview, and I try to say that too, and especially after what happened with me not being at iHeart anymore. It's November 4th. I mean, it's for almost 5 months. It's pretty crazy how it's gone after being there 10 years. Now it's been 5 months, but I try to tell people, don't be sad that it's over. Just be happy that we had the time that we did. And, that was what I did. That wasn't who I was.
Right.
And you're the same thing. Like, as much as you were, a fantastic athlete and a Major League Baseball player, and you got to achieve your dream, at the end of the day, your kids don't care about that. You're their dad. Your wonderful wife Annie, like, she loves you as a good Christian man, a father and a husband. And I know your mom, how proud she is of you and all the things that you do for people in our community with the Denard Span Foundation. So it is one of those things, right? That kind of, I hate to use the term, but like a come to Jesus kind of thing. If that's what I did, that's not who I am.
No, yeah, no question. And I mean, there's just more to life, you know what I'm saying, than
Right.
Your career and what people know you for. People know you as WDAE, but you are so much more than the guy that's behind the mic on the radio station. The things that you're doing now, you're able to stand tall or sit tall and speak the way you speak because of the experiences that you've been through.
Right.
So you have nothing but to have gratitude in your heart for your time there. What happened was supposed to happen in the way it was supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because now you have, now you're able to, speak on, going through certain situations and be able to, be a light for others and potentially, just transform and change so many lives. So yeah, we are more than what our career is or what people might think we are. Like, it's just so much more depth, to certain people. I feel like if especially if you're in touch with your faith and your Christianity. So yeah, I think I'm proud of you, man. I'll be honest with you.
Thank you, buddy.
And the podcast and how you're just continuing to keep your best foot.
I'm out here grinding, baby. I'm out here grinding. When can everybody find you next? I know you're still working with the
Twins. I'm working with the Twins. Yeah, not working with
my friend that works for the Rowdies, my friend Gabby, she's the head of PR. She used to work for the Minnesota team for the MLS. So she's because we have president of the Rowdies, Ryan Helfrich, joining us next, and she just texted me, "Oh my God, Denard Span, yeah, baby, this is how we roll on the program today." So yeah, when are you doing stuff with the Twins broadcast?
Twins, I go on, I believe, April 28th through May 4th. Nice. But I'm actually I'm doing 2 more games in May for USF baseball.
Nice. Okay, I'll probably see you over there.
Yeah, I'll see you at the stadium. It's sometime mid-May. Nice. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but so yeah, it's about to be a fun and exciting season for sure.
The one and only Denard Span. Make sure you head on over to Denard Span Foundation. Look it up online. See what you can do to help out. We always do, the big event every single year. But DenardSpanFoundation.org, if you want to see what their mission is all about, hooking these single moms here in the Tampa Bay area up with these with these cars. Just watch the videos. Like, it's just it makes your heart melt, man. There ain't no dry eye in the house when you're dealing with that stuff. But Denard, I appreciate you. I love you, and I'll see you next week, my friend.
Yes, sir. All good, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.